Well, good afternoon. This is Sahara, and I'm bringing you psychic predictions for the world. I have a Facebook group. You're welcome to join it any time. Come on and share your visions and dreams and premonitions. It's been a nice clearinghouse, and just throw it out there to help you start predicting. The worst thing you can do is have a feeling, keep it inside, never express it. It will stay there and it becomes like a log jam until you start expressing it. More and more start to come. And as I've mentioned in my previous videos, we are entering an age of nonverbal communication. And gee whiz, what a good idea! Not a nice idea. I want to share with you just one or two things today. Backtracking to Halloween of last year, 2017, this is when there was a gigantic eclipse. It was very dramatic. The moon blocked out the sun. It did turn dark here. It was very interesting, and it was an eclipse that fell on Donald Trump's chart, in a very, very dramatic way. Um, and I won't go into astrology too much, but all the astrologers at that point said, "Well, goodbye, Mr. Trump," because they are definitive changing things in your charts. I saw an eclipse in my husband's chart, and I knew that I was going to lose him. He went a couple months after that eclipse. Uh, so and so all the astrologers said, "Well, he's goner," and that was let me say, I guess it would be October 31st of 2017. And even I thought that because I've seen clips. This is very powerful, but he's still there. And other astrologers, and I felt bad because I made a YouTube going, well, Bios Candios, Trumpy boy, and but he was still here, and this is July of 2018. And other astrologers have said, and I feel it too. Hold on a sec. Let me get the keyboard elf off the screen for a minute. It was on that day that the Mueller investigation was opened up and papers were served to Trump on that day, a full moon eclipse. As well, Fire and Fury came out by Michael Wolff. And today we had an interesting development with um, Robert Mueller seeking immunity for 5 witnesses. That means that the clogs of the wheel are getting greased up. But I would say, just personally, from looking at the news when Trump's disastrous trip over to um, the British Isles and Russia, you don't have to be a psychic or an astrologer, but I will tell you, this was 5 days ago. I saw. I didn't know Trump was going overseas. It's a little hard to keep track of things nowadays. It's like a soap opera. I didn't know Trump was going overseas, and I closed my eyes and I saw a Union Jack unfolding itself or spreading itself over the East Coast and into Russia, and it it kind of dissolved as if something were sinking in to a landscape and covering it. And I thought, oh my goodness, the British people are, and Scotland Yard and all the arms of their all the people are getting involved more deeply into this threat of both Trump and Russia. And they really, it's like I really something sink into the Russian soil. And in a way, if you think about it, with the oh, what I saw also a couple months ago, I saw Putin dancing like a jig or a funny Russian dance on an ice floe or frozen tundra in Russia. I thought, he's happy about global warming. He was happy about the destruction of the um, great glaciers, the two Arctic poles. I thought, why would he do that? That's who could be excited about wrecking the earth? I mean, I know these people are diabolical, but that's crazy. You know, um, that's I don't know. That's hard to imagine. So, I put that on the psychic predictions for the world, and I said, I guess I saw Putin happy about climate changes. And somebody sent me something from the Weather Channel, which has been a real watchdog for um, loving the earth. Think about what they are interested in, the beauty of the earth. Um, and it was a documentary of how Russia is encouraging the melting of the ice caps because I didn't know this. Who knows who can keep track of this stuff? Because the Russian it has huge oil reserves under the Arctic ice caps, and also Antarctica is just loaded, and most people can't get to that oil. And I didn't know that Russia has gigantic oil cities built around these oil facilities, and but they can't really um, transport the oil that easily because the Baltic Sea is frozen over most of the time. However, with global warming, the Baltic Sea is now navigable. So, in areas where they never could get oil out before, and believe me, I saw gigantic, like cities just built around getting this oil, and they were very ugly with, lots of smokestacks and everything, more Gotham City than you could imagine, and cold, and they can get the oil through now. They're happy that the ice caps are melting. They can get the oil. Okay, you know that is why. Uh, and remember one of my predictions a couple months ago. Oh golly, I guess it was earlier this year. I saw happy tugboats going across the ocean, and like you'd see in a cartoon. And I saw them happy pulling oil barges. I thought, well, that's funny. The whole world is getting off the addiction to oil. But all of a sudden, I feel like oil commerce is going to pick up. Well, don't you know, a couple days after that, Trump uh, put all these tariffs on solar panels in the United States, destroying the solar industry here and doing other nasty things to, and I thought, why is he doing that? Well, golly, it's always follow the money. So they have, and that was a nice little exercise that I put on the YouTubes for how to ask questions, and that's what I got. Happy tugboats. So I feel like um, the October 30th full moon last year was really, truly the end of Trump. And he has never been able to shake this loose. And that was the end of him. That he's just still around is like a lingering bad dream. and now I feel like the British are getting busy with trying to solve this problem because while Russia delighted to make money, they don't care if the Gulf Stream melts. When the Gulf Stream melts, all of Europe and the northern U.S. enters the ice age, which we saw this this year. It was horrible. So so the um, the Northern Europeans know they have to stop Russia and they have to stop Trump because it'll be the end of civilization as we know it. However, we will have lots of oil to heat things to try to stay warm. We're into some diabolical thinking here. It's not sane. And in my original predictions at the beginning of this year was I saw the stock market crashing in September and October of this year, that 2000 and 2018 would be like 2008. So anything would have done financially in 2008, do it again because things are going to change dramatically. And I guess if you think about it just logically, Trump's popularity, what he has left, um, but the clout that he does have left will disappear when the stock market crashes, and we're on our way. So just a few more months. You remember from the earlier YouTube, I went over the exercise with you, and I more or less bilocated to the White House lawn in the fall, and I found myself walking across the lawn in the winter. I could feel the fall leaves crunching under my feet. So, and I saw a bank blowing up, and that confused me. Do we have real person? I saw bad guys going into a bank. Like sometimes they're like cartoons, the cartoon bad guys with bombs, and they blow up a bank, and they enjoy catching the money as it's floating down. Uh, or does the banking business uh, blow up? Probably both, because I also saw the happy little tugboats going across the ocean. They were like, think about Popeye is um, doing the tugboats. That's a cartoon, but it really happened, and the solar industry was essentially dealt a death blow, at least temporarily. Now, moving on to, I woke up the other day. Hold on one second. I would say I was asleep. Thank God, because it would have scared me. I saw what I thought was the Keebler elf, but it wasn't. And guess who? Jeff Sessions. And I heard a voice say, Jeff Sessions will not be indicted. Okay, I just made note of it. The thing is, he's not under indictment, so we're going to wait and see what happens with that. It's not happening. I don't know all the ins and outs of this. Who can keep track anyway? Going back to February of this year, I I made a YouTube called Dr. Death. I saw vigilantes along the Texas border specifically, and believe me, they have Mexican borders in New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, and California, but I saw this happening in Texas. And I saw what you would term as a bunch of good old boys having a drink and hanging out in their trucks at night and taking pot shots at immigrants coming across the desert to scare them. Then I saw it escalating. And the one thing that has been going on with there's two forces at play here in Texas and in Arizona, but I saw the people dying in Texas. Is there will be desert angels that will go along and randomly scatter jugs of water so the people trying to come across the desert will find water because that's how they die. It's very horrible travel, cold, and they die of exposure. And I saw specifically a group of Texans based in Dallas, but I saw them. This was fun for them. You go, I have a couple drinks. You lie in the grass, and it's like a shooting range. But it began to turn deadly. I also saw this happening in other parts of the country. I saw New Mexico cities. I saw all over Las Vegas, all everywhere across the country. I saw um, people taking upon themselves vigilante mentality of, gee, there's all these homeless people starving on the streets, so they would go around and shoot them at night. Just shoot at the sleeping bag. That takes care of that problem. So you have the vigilantes just going around shooting people, the drive-bys, you know. Um, I also, then the one that really shocked me, I saw this a month ago. I saw, it was like a headline in my head. And I saw Trump involved in a child trafficking ring. I couldn't believe it. That's why I'm so glad to be able to enter things in psychic predictions for the world because if I don't have the nerve to make a YouTube out of it, because that's crazy, you're the President of the United States, child trafficking. Who's going to believe that? And he wouldn't do that anyway. There's not enough money in it for him. Um, so, uh, not that it would, I wouldn't put anything past this man because he's like a gangster, but that was too outrageous. What happened is the whole border thing started, and the children were put in cages along the border. Cage. So we have two things going on here. We have uh, ga- cage. Let me see. There's three things going on: murder for profit, caging kids for profit, and prisons for profits. It's all part of the same mentality, and people make money out of this. The murder for profit is in Texas, and I'll show you something from Democracy Now! And the Weather Channel. You see, these migrants have bounties on their head. There have been mass graves with hundreds, like 500 to 600 uh, graves. They're not really graves, they're just people dumped in the ground. And the way it works is, especially in, I think it's Brown, Texas, Brooks, Texas, they, the sheriff will go along and pick up the dead bodies in the desert. Uh, Now, how that happens is the migrant comes across and calls the Border Patrol and says, "We're here to declare amnesty." Well, the Border Patrol never comes. They wait for them to die because you will die in those harsh conditions. And then they go and pick up the bodies. The sheriff can take these dead bodies to a funeral home, and the funeral homes get $1,000 per body, and the sheriff gets a kickback. Then they have to do something with the bodies. They're not processed like, the expensive funeral homes are charging. They cost a lot of money to process a body, but if you just take it and stick it into the ground and don't process it, or they don't document them, they don't have names, and so they have no names. They're just dumped in the ground. So they've been finding them all over, and they've been found a lot in existing graveyards. They will, again, the funeral home does this, goes and just digs beside a coffin in the ground and dumps a body. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. So you have the children. Hold on 1 second. Let me get another shot of the children. Let me show you. This is courtesy of this Weather Channel, and some investigative journalists did um, the real Death Valley, and it's featured by Democracy Now. I found these things. I had the dreams, and then I found them. Also, I think they find me. I'm really quite sure of it. Like the Russian thing and Putin dancing on the tundra, and somebody sent me the thing with why the Russians are so happy to be wrecking the climate. Well, the Europeans don't want that. So we have another dynamics happening here. But you can go right on the Weather Channel or Democracy Now, or if you want, send me an email. I'd be glad to send you the links to these articles because the investigative journalism is fantastic. And also, there are people that have respect for these bodies, so they've they've been doing this for 2 years, finding bodies. So this is they these immigrants are worth more dead. So are the people in jail. So Trump's cronies get paid a payment for each child and each dead body process. They're getting like $700 to $1,000 a night per child, and you probably seen all the horrible pictures of the way these children are kept. They're getting $1,000 per body along the border for dead bodies. And this mentality started with private prisons for profit. Well, of course, what's been happening has been outrageous. You know, and it is unfortunately it has really hit the black ghetto population, male population, and we've seen that happening. You see kickbacks are happening all over the place, including the judges that sentence these kids. You do a little juvenile delinquency and you go to prison for 5 years. Well, they're paying the private prison the rates that you would pay at Hilton to house these young kids, and it's really racial. It looks racial to me, and Obama addressed this, but Obama couldn't really do anything with the strong Republican Congress, and so the mentality is set up for um, money profit from dead bodies, profit for kids locked up. They pay a per head fee, and private uh, prisons. All of this I saw and put in earlier YouTubes. It was the when I saw like the little headline in my head was Trump being accused of child trafficking. That's not quite the right term. I don't know what you call it. He's kidnapping these kids. It's hard to say what he's doing, but it is immoral. On to something else that isn't really great news. I mean, good news. It is new news, but I see if I have to tell it like I see it. I saw right down here along the China coast, and right along. This is my red line right here. This is my red line, and I drew it on top of a weather map, and so I saw earthquake happening here. It I saw this right before the Hawaii um, volcanoes. I did feel like they were connected, but I did feel like it's kind of a warning that this is actually weaker than the St. Andreas fault, and you will be seeing it here. And of course, tsunamis come from this. And earlier, I saw going down along New Zealand, and here they don't have that much here on Australia, but there is. So I was just surprised I saw that, and we'll wait and see. I don't think this is really shocking prediction. It's like if I saw that there's going to be an earthquake there, big deal. So we only I've seen that several times, and it usually does happen. And I do have, in my heart of hearts, I do have a feeling for a good feeling for our dear Mother Earth. I saw an oil rig collapsing in the North Sea, and I saw it also in the South Pole as well. I saw it leaning over and then just falling into the ice. So the problem is, will we know this if it happens with Russia or even any company? If they can get away with it, they're not going to notify people. That just more sea life will be lost, but we'll wait and see. The one I did see, and I put some of this in the previous YouTube, but it had disturbed me so much. I saw Bernie Sanders, and I saw a repeat of the Russian uh, 1917 revolt for freedom. And what I saw was, you see, Lenin, to my understanding of things, he had really good ideas. He died, and Lenin was always a little nervous about Stalin. So Stalin grabbed power and called, all the world's problems started at that point. Stalin was a Capricorn. Oh, I love Capricorns, by the way. So I saw Bernie grabbing hold of the baton. I don't know if he'll be president. I don't think so. But what he's going to do is he's going to get spearhead or get behind some people. And the problem is going to be they're so idealistic and wide-eyed that the same thing is going to happen that happened with Lenin. I saw Bernie Sanders fall over in the snow, and I saw blood splattered on the snow, and I saw somebody stepping on his glasses. I thought, I thought that was the idealism being squashed, and it made me sad that good ideas, and then people grab power, and that's what happened in Russia. And I felt like there was a danger of that happening here. And so the Bernie Sanders, his ideas are fantastic. But looky, I'm going to show you this. This is Miss Cassio Cortez. I saw the ladies in blue stepping up, and uh, she's a contender now for a seat in the Congress. She's 26 years old, 28 years old, a social democrat, and she has fantastic ideas, great vision. And so I feel like I saw the vision with Bernie. A couple days later, I saw this young woman stepping up to the plate. Their ideas are good. I feel like Bernie's opening the way for um, great thinkers like this young lady, and that's exactly what she is, a great thinker. Uh, and but they unfortunately they end up like there are many times that bad people will step in where good people have paved the way for real, true social change. So I saw the blue ladies. Let me show you who the other blue lady is. Maxine Waters. This lady is she's going to be 80 on her next birthday, and she is very powerful in the I think she's a representative, if I'm not mistaken, and uh, she can she can she's eligible to take over the Financial Services Committee of the Congress and can subpoena Trump's bank records. So remember to vote for the blue ladies because they're going to be powerful. And Miss Waters has served her people so well. I did see another woman stepping up, and she has not made herself known, or at least to me. But I saw a woman of color, probably black, from the South. I'm pretty sure she was a black woman, and she's from an area of the South, the deep South, where you don't expect a black woman to step up and win. And that would be the first woman of color. I'm getting like Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana. I'm getting places like that where you just don't expect that. And she steps up. She's fantastic. She goes to Congress, and I'm waiting for this blue lady. She's going to be a woman of color. She's going to step up like Miss Cortez and Maxine. Anybody named Maxine's got to be pretty cool anyway. And I did pass this by you. Um, the day of the New York elections, which I didn't know they were having. Sometimes I get these things like the day before, which is why I'm glad I can timestamp them on Facebook. I saw a donkey dancing and confetti raining down. I said, "Wow, that's nice." It says, "Happy, happy Democrats." And the next day, here comes Miss Cortez. And here's some communication with people where I'm going, "Do you know what this is?" And they're just chatting with me. And I said, "I don't know, except I got the feeling that she was a female, and I got the lovely color of blue." So there you go. Happy Donkey Day. And the donkey was dancing in confetti. Oh, before I sign off, I didn't get to show you this slide from the Democracy Now! And courtesy of the Weather Channel. This and more people finding immigrant bodies, and this has been going for 2 years, body after body. So you we're seeing the dead bodies for profit. We're seeing prisons for profit, and we're seeing child. I don't know what to call these children on the border, and for profit per head. So this is what's running our country now. So I'll say adieu until our next get together. I have, of course, more dreams, more premonitions, and I will usually put them on psychic predictions for the world before I put them into a YouTube, because sometimes they're outrageous, and it is the outrageous things that come true. I think I have some more I have yet to put on a YouTube, but I want to tell you that it is through Yogananda and his devotees that I'm getting these dreams as I've explained to you before. And so I do this for God and Guru. And always remember, every step you take, every thought you have, every word you speak, every action you take, are you moving towards God or away from God? Overall, I have a good feeling about the fate of our dear Mother Earth. I feel like we are under guidance from God and Guru.